Hi everybody, Whitney Magnuson here with a fun Mother's Day card with a sassy twist. I'm going to be using 3 kits today. A sentiment from this kit, Another Name for Love, the stunning florals from this Donna Downey kit, Hollyhocks, and a sassy sentiment from the kit, Jackass. I was inspired when I saw a non-traditional Mother's Day card that Heather Hoffman did, and so I thought, why not try it out? Not all mothers are super sappy, and so let's just see what happens. And so here I am using a craft card base. I cut a sheet that's slightly smaller of sea glass cardstock, and then this is a piece of Canson XL watercolor paper die cut. So I'm using my Misty, and I'm going to start with the Hollyhock stamp. This stamp is gigantic, and so as you can see, I have to put it in the top corner of my Misty to fit this stamp in there. Super, super pretty. It's one of my favorite florals. So I'm just positioning it where I want it. Disclaimer, I'm sick right now, so you're going to hear a lot of coughing. So I'm using Distress Oxide. This is the color Picked Raspberry. Don't mind Cheeto, he decided to come in the middle of my video and hang out with me. So right now I'm just trying to convince him to go hang out somewhere else so I can actually do crafting. Little stinker. So here's the Picked Raspberry. I'm just going to go ahead, stamp that down. There we go. And this is a Distress Oxide, and so it reacts with water, and I wanted this to be like a really pretty watercolory look, and so I'm just spraying it with water and tilting the paper so it kind of flows down the side a little bit. So now I'm cleaning off my stamp, and I'm going to go in with another color, and this is Twisted Citron, another Distress Oxide. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to ink it up and stamp it down right over the top of that pink. So you're going to see the two colors kind of blend together and you get almost like an orangey. And I love that effect. And so now I'm going to take the water again, tilt my paper down, and just kind of get those colors flowing. So you can see here my paper's kind of curling, so I'm just making sure that it's going to stay in place. I am drying some of the layers here. It gets a little muddy if you don't dry in between your layers, and it just pops up way more if you do this. So that's why I'm doing this, and just dried it very slightly. Now I'm going to go in with the color Shaded Lilac right over the top of the other 2 colors that we did. Such a pretty light purple color. And I'm going to do the same thing with my water, just kind of get those colors flowing. And I'm adding quite a bit of water to this. As you can see, it's dripping down. I love how it comes out very muted and just almost like a watercolor wash. It's really pretty. So you can have so much fun with this with your oxides or your distress inks or even just any water-based inks. So now I'm going to dry this completely. Like I said, it turns out a lot better if you dry in between layers, and so that is just what I'm doing. And I'm just using a heat tool. As you can see, mine's very well loved. We use it all the time. And you can see my paper's kind of starting to curl up. A trick that I do when this happens with watercolor paper is I just dry the front pretty completely. And now I'm going to flip it over on the back side and dry it for a little minute. It seems like if you flip it over, dry it on the back side, and then flip it back over to the front and dry it again, it flattens out. It's kind of magical. I don't know. You'll see. You guys probably already know this, but in case you don't, and you don't have time to sit and get it all flat again by putting like an acrylic block over the top, you can totally use this technique. So there we go. Very pretty, kind of muted background we have going on. And I'm sticking it back in the Misty, magneting it down, and now I'm going to I'm leaving my hollyhock stamp in the exact same position because we're going to go over it with the picked raspberry, and so we get a very pigmented pink color right over the top of those hollyhocks that we stamped already. See, super pretty. So I'm just going to do it one more time just to get the coverage that I'd like. There we go, and I'm cleaning off my stamp because I'm going to go in with another color, and I'm going to just slightly shift my paper over a little bit because I'm going to be putting the hollyhocks on the other side this time, moving the stamp. And I'm just overlapping it very slightly, as you can see. And now I'm going to go in with the twisted citron and stamp that down. Perfect. And I'm just going to do it one more time to build up that color. And now I'm going to go in just with a few different spots that picked raspberry so we kind of get a mixed color effect. I love just that orangey look that it gets. So you see it kind of mixes together. It looks pretty cool. So I'm just cleaning off my stamp. I'm going to take this panel out of my MISTI. And I thought that it looked a little bit plain, like it needed something else to make it pop. And so I'm just going to take this hollyhock stamp and I'm going to put it on an acrylic block. It doesn't fit all the way, but that's okay. And I'm going to use a Gina K ink in the color Sea Glass. It's a very pretty light turquoise color. I'm just going to ink this up and stamp it a couple times on the bottom of my card. And as you can see, I'm doing it a little bit shorter than my other ones just so it looks like there's different levels of these hollyhocks. And I love the combination of all these colors. It's so bright and cheery. So just doing it one more time. So I love what that adds. So of course with all kind of mixed media type projects that I do, I love to add splatters. So I'm just taking this same sea glass color, smushing it on the top of my acrylic block, and then adding some water. And then I'm just going to take a plain old paintbrush and tap right over the top so I get some splatter effect. And what's going to happen too, since we stamped that those hollyhocks in Distress Oxide, it's kind of going to activate the oxide ink in those parts where the splatters hit the hollyhocks. So I love that effect. Real pretty. So I'm just drying this layer so I can go ahead and add my sentiment. You could also go in with other colors too and add splatters. I just kind of liked this one. I thought it worked. So now I am going to stamp the sentiment, and it is from the kit, Another Name for Love, and this is with our collaboration with Gina K Designs. And this one says, My Mother, My Friend. And so I thought it was kind of fun. I kind of have a sweet vibe going on the outside of this card with the florals. I'm using the Gina K Amalgam ink, amalgam, I'm learning how to say this word, amalgam ink, and I am stamping that down. What's great about this ink is it works with all coloring mediums, so it works fine over the top of this. Very vibrant, a really great black ink. So now it is time for card assembly. Again, this is just a cut down piece of cardstock, and it's Gina K cardstock, and the coordinating color Sea Glass, so it actually matches that ink that we used. So I think that's kind of a fun touch. And then the craft card base is also a Gina K card base that is sold in our shop. I'm just making sure that this is dried completely before I go ahead and adhere it down. And as I was doing this, then I remembered, oh yeah, I wanted to add ribbon. And so, good thing I caught it. So right now I'm just muddling around looking for my favorite ribbon. It is a super pretty sheer white organza ribbon. I use it on pretty much all of my cards. I'm obsessed with it. So I'll find it here in a second. Here we go. It is actually a roll that is 25 yards, and it's super, you'll use tons of it. You'll love it. So here I am, I'm just tying the little bow off to the side. And you'll see me kind of mess around with this a little bit. I I wanted the bow to be on the very edge just because I still want that stamped panel to be like right in the middle. And so I'm just kind of messing around with my bow and getting it positioned where I want. And then I will trim off the excess here. And now I am realizing that I want to pop up this panel, and so I know I already like put adhesive on the back of this, but last minute I decided I want to pop this up, and so I'm going to be grabbing some foam squares here so I can pop up that panel. I just think it really adds some dimension, and I love how it looks when it's all popped up. So here I am, I'm just making sure it's all good to go. And now I'm going to add those foam squares in the back. All right. So I love the way that this card was coming out. It was very sweet looking with the florals and the sentiment, but my mom is not necessarily that sentimental, and so I needed to make it kind of funny for her and to fit her, and so I am going to stamp kind of a funny sentiment on the inside of my card, and it is from the kit Jackass, this little donkey with kind of fun sentiments. And so this sentiment says, busted my ass to make this card, and so that more so fits my mom, and so that is why I am doing this. She will probably think it's pretty funny. So there I am, just using my Gina K amalgam ink again, and there is the sentiment and the front of the card. So it looks real sweet, you open it up, and it's sassy and kind of fun. So here are some peeks of my finished card. I hope that you guys liked this technique, and if you go ahead and try this out, do share it on the Unity Show and Tell page and tag me. I love to see your creations. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Bye!